There's a moment in life that changes everything, and it rarely announces itself. It comes quietly, often during the stillness of your most overwhelming thoughts. Maybe you've felt it, that flicker of awareness when you realize the tension has never really come from the outside world, but from something buried within. You try to manage it, you adjust your routines, avoid discomfort, meditate, say the right things, read the right books, but something inside still tightens when things feel uncertain. Your breath shortens, your thoughts race, your sense of peace disappears the moment you're no longer in control. But here's what no one tells you. That pressure inside you isn't a flaw. It's a message, a code, a quiet signal from within, asking to be heard. Louise Hay taught that every emotion, every sensation is a form of communication. Your body is not against you. Your mind is not failing you. They are both trying to lead you home. When you learn to listen to that message with compassion instead of fear, everything begins to change. Picture this, a moment where you no longer spiral at the smallest shift in plans, where uncertainty no longer makes you feel unsafe, where you feel rooted even when the world moves around you. That isn't a fantasy. It's what becomes possible when you uncover the internal pattern that's been silently shaping your responses. What you'll discover in the next few minutes is not a quick fix or a clever phrase. It's the doorway to understanding yourself on a deeper level. And once you walk through it, you will never look at these feelings the same way again. The truth is, most of us have been trained to fight our emotions or escape them. We're told to be positive, to stay strong, to move on. But strength without awareness is just resistance in disguise. And resistance keeps the pain alive. Louise used to say that when we truly love ourselves, everything in life works. But most people are not taught how to love themselves in moments of chaos. They love themselves when everything is calm, but not when the storm hits. And that's exactly when it matters most. Before we continue, let me ask you something. If there was a hidden belief inside you that created this sense of pressure and unease, would you want to uncover it? Not to erase it, not to fight it, but to finally understand it. If something inside you just said yes, share in the comments what pattern or emotion you're ready to let go of. That one feeling that keeps pulling you down when all you want is peace. This video is not just information, it's a mirror. And what it reflects is the part of you that has been quietly waiting to be seen. The code is not out there. It lives within you. That tension you feel is not your enemy. It's your invitation. And by the end of this journey, you will know how to read its message, respond with grace, and restore the calm that has always been your true nature. Stay with me. This is where things begin to fall into place. Most people go through life trying to fix what they can see. The schedule, the diet, the relationships, the sleep. But what if the real imbalance doesn't begin in the visible world? What if the chaos outside is only a mirror of something happening quietly inside? Louise Hay often spoke about how our experiences are not random, that life doesn't happen to us. It reflects us. And until we recognize the thoughts and beliefs we've accepted as truths, we will keep repeating the same emotional cycles without even knowing why. There is a silent agreement many people live under. A belief that says if I just try harder, I will finally feel better. But trying harder doesn't work when the root cause is invisible. That uneasiness you feel when plans shift, the need to control every detail, the worry that something might go wrong before it even happens. These patterns do not start with circumstance. They start with thought. Quiet thoughts, often picked up in childhood. Thoughts that whisper you are not safe unless everything is perfect. You are not lovable unless you perform. You are not enough unless you prove yourself. Over time, those thoughts stop feeling like thoughts. They start feeling like truths. And that's where the real disconnection begins. Because your outer world is always responding to your inner world, not to your effort, but to your energy. If your energy is shaped by fear, even if you smile and do all the right things, something will still feel off. Not because you're broken, but because you are disconnected from your center, from the part of you that knows peace is your natural state, not something to earn. Louise taught that every belief is a choice, even the ones we never questioned, even the ones that were passed down to us before we had words. And once you begin to see that, you take your power back. You stop reacting to life like it's attacking you. You begin to meet each moment as a messenger, and the message is always the same. Come back to yourself, to the truth beneath the noise. This part of the journey is not about blaming the past or fixing the future. It's about noticing, becoming aware, seeing how often your thoughts rush ahead or drift behind, while your body stays stuck in the tension of what might go wrong. When you catch that moment, that breath between fear and reaction, you've already begun to change, because awareness creates space. And in that space, you no longer have to believe every thought that crosses your mind. This is the beginning of healing, not dramatic, not loud, but steady and honest. A soft return to presence. And from that presence, everything you were chasing starts to look different. Less like something to conquer and more like something to understand. Keep going. You are closer to the shift than you realize. Most people have been taught to fear discomfort. We're told to hide it, numb it, distract ourselves from it. We scroll through our phones, fill our schedules, and keep our minds busy so we don't have to feel too much. But the truth is that ache inside, that tightness you keep pushing away. It's not here to harm you. It's here to speak. Louise Hay believed that every symptom, every emotion, every tension in the body is your soul trying to get your attention, not to punish you, but to guide you. There is wisdom in every sensation, the pressure in your chest, the lump in your throat, the restless energy that keeps you from sleeping. These are not random, they are signals, messages from the parts of you that have gone unheard for too long. And when you finally stop running and start listening, something beautiful happens. You realize you're not broken. You're just full of unspoken feelings that want to be acknowledged. Most of the pain we carry doesn't come from what's happening in the moment. It comes from the stories we tell ourselves about it. The fear of not being able to handle it, the belief that we are weak for feeling it, the shame of not being in control. But none of that is true. Louise taught that feelings are meant to be felt. They are not your identity. They are not forever. They are movements of energy, here to pass through, not to stay. So what if instead of trying to silence your discomfort, you asked it what it wants you to know? What if instead of calling it a problem, you treated it as a messenger, as a soft whisper from your inner child, your younger self, still waiting to be heard? The part of you that didn't feel safe, that didn't know how to speak up, that was told to be quiet, to be good, to be strong. That version of you is still inside, and she is not asking for you to fix her. She is asking for you to listen. Listening is the first act of healing. It doesn't require a plan. It doesn't require a solution. Just presence, just space, just a willingness to sit with the feeling and say, I see you, I hear you, you're allowed to be here. And when you do that, you begin to transform the energy. You take away its power to control you. You stop being afraid of the emotion and start learning from it. This is not weakness. This is courage. The courage to be with yourself exactly as you are. No judgment, no pressure, just truth. And in that truth, you find relief. Not because the world changed, but because you stopped hiding from yourself. Stay with this. You are beginning to hear the voice underneath the noise. And that voice has been waiting for you all along. There is a thought inside you that you have repeated so many times. It no longer feels like a thought. It feels like truth. And that thought has shaped how you see yourself, how you respond to life, and how much peace you allow yourself. to feel. Louise Hay spent her life helping people find that thought, the one that lives in the background, hidden beneath the noise, but quietly directing everything. It might sound like I'm not good enough, or I'm not safe unless I'm in control, or nothing works out for me. It doesn't shout, it whispers, but it's that whisper that builds your entire emotional world. This is where the shift begins. When you stop reacting to how you feel on the surface and start looking at what's feeding the feeling beneath, that restlessness, that tightness, that sense that you always need to do more or be more to feel okay. Those are signals pointing you toward the original belief, the one you never questioned, the one that was likely formed when you were still too young to understand what was happening around you. It may not even be yours. It may have been passed down through generations, but it lives in you now. And the good news is, the moment you see it clearly, you have the power to change it. Louise taught that the thoughts we think and the words we speak create our experiences, not just occasionally, not just when we're being intentional, but always. And most of the time, the thoughts creating the most chaos are the ones we don't even realize we're having. They come automatically, unconsciously, and they shape how we feel without asking permission. That is why awareness is so powerful, because you cannot heal what you're unwilling to see. Take a moment and reflect. What is the one sentence that repeats in your mind when things don't go your way? What is the story you tell yourself when you feel tense, overwhelmed, or unseen? That story is not who you are. It's a reflection of something you once believed to survive. But survival is not the goal anymore. Now it's time to live. And to live fully, you have to rewrite that script. If you feel ready, share in the comments what you think your thought might be. The one that's been looping quietly for years. You don't need to explain or justify it. Just name it. Bringing it into the light is the first act of reclaiming your power. When you say it out loud, even in a small comment, something begins to shift. You remind yourself that you are not the thought. You are the one who can choose a new one. This is where the real healing begins. Not by forcing change, but by seeing with clarity. Because once you see the belief clearly, it no longer has the same hold over you. You begin to create space between who you are and what you've been taught to believe. And in that space, you are free to choose something new. Once you recognize the thought that has been silently guiding your reactions, something inside begins to soften. The grip it had on you loosens. And now, a new question arises. If that belief no longer serves me, what can I choose instead? This is where real transformation begins. Louise Hay taught that every thought we think is shaping our future, not in some distant way, but in the most immediate and intimate parts of our lives. What you think about yourself becomes the foundation of what you accept, what you allow, and what you attract. Many people try to change their lives by changing their actions, but if those actions are still rooted in fear, self-doubt, or a need to prove something, the outcome never truly satisfies. That is because the energy behind the action still carries the old belief. The only way to create a different experience is to begin with a different thought. Not just once, not just when things feel good, but as a new way of relating to yourself. Louise was not interested in surface-level affirmations. She taught that the words must come from a place of truth. You cannot lie to yourself and expect healing. You must choose thoughts that feel believable. If saying I love myself feels too far away, then start with I am learning to be kind to myself. If saying I am enough feels too distant, then begin with I am open to seeing my worth. The path is not about perfection. It is about presence, about meeting yourself where you are and gently guiding your mind towards something more loving. Try this. The next time you catch yourself repeating that old belief, pause, breathe, then speak to yourself as if you were a child learning something new. Say it slowly. Say it kindly. I choose to let this thought go. I'm safe to think a new thought. I am open to experiencing life from a place of peace. These are not just words, they are invitations. They open the door for new patterns to form. And the more often you walk through that door, the more natural it becomes to stay there. Rewriting the code does not mean the old thoughts will disappear overnight. They may still show up, but now you know what they are. And more importantly, you know they are not you. They are echoes, habits, leftovers from a version of you that no longer needs to lead. With awareness and repetition, the new thought begins to take root, and from that root, a new life begins to grow. This chapter is about reclaiming the author role in your inner narrative. You are no longer a character reacting to an old script. You are the one holding the pen, and the story you write from here will feel different. Not because the world changed, but because you did. One thought at a time. There is a quiet power that lives in the present moment, but most people miss it because they are too busy trying to fix the past or control the future. They live in a state of tension, always waiting for something to change before they allow themselves to feel peace. Louise Hay often said that the point of power is always in the present. That means your healing, your transformation, your freedom does not begin when things finally improve. It begins now, exactly as you are. Most of us were taught that we can only relax when everything is in place, that we need answers, solutions, guarantees before we can feel safe. But waiting for peace to arrive is what keeps it away. Because peace is not something you chase. It is something you choose. And you can choose it in the middle of chaos. You can choose it even when nothing outside makes sense. That is the kind of peace that changes lives. When you accept yourself in the moment without needing to be different, something shifts. The pressure to prove yourself begins to fade. The tight grip around your identity starts to loosen. You no longer need to fight your thoughts or hide your feelings. You just allow. And in that allowing, you start to return to yourself. Not the self that was shaped by fear or pressure, but the self that existed before the world taught you who to be. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It does not mean you will stay stuck or settle for less. It means you stop making war with yourself. You stop measuring your worth by your progress. You stop postponing your sense of peace until the conditions are perfect, because perfection is an illusion, and healing is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who you already are when you stop trying so hard. Try this. The next time you feel overwhelmed, instead of reaching for control, place your hand over your heart and say, I am here now. I accept this moment. I accept myself. Let the words sink in. Let them remind your body that it is safe to pause, that you do not have to fix anything to be worthy of stillness, that your presence is enough. Louise often reminded us that the only thing we are ever working on is learning to love ourselves, not just when we succeed, but when we feel lost, when we are uncertain, when we feel like we are not enough. That is when love matters most, and that is when it can do the most healing. This is the gift of presence. It invites you to let go of the pressure and return to the simplicity of being, not chasing, not striving, just being. And in that being, everything begins to settle. Not because the world changed, but because your energy did. From that space, life responds differently. From that space, everything starts to align. Healing is not a single decision. It is a practice, a daily return to the version of you that you are becoming. Not the old voice that criticizes, doubts, or questions your worth, but the quieter, wiser voice that says, I am learning, I am growing, I am allowed to feel better. Louise Hay taught that we do not need to heal all at once. We only need to be willing to see things differently, willing to speak to ourselves with love, willing to try again when old patterns show up. Integration means you no longer visit peace from time to time. You begin to live there. Even if the old thoughts still try to rise, even if your nervous system still flinches when something triggers a memory, you learn to stay with yourself. You create a new inner rhythm, one built on kindness and truth. It is not about never being triggered. It is about knowing how to return. That return is the work. That return is the shift. Start by noticing how you respond to yourself when something goes wrong. Do you attack your own heart with blame? Or can you pause and offer compassion? That moment is where the code becomes active. Because when you respond differently to what used to unravel you, you send a new signal to your mind and body. You tell yourself, I am safe now. I am no longer stuck in that old story. I have a new pattern, and I trust it to carry me forward. Louise often reminded us that every thought is like a seed. You do not need to control when it grows. You just need to plant it with love. A single thought, repeated with presence and sincerity, can rewrite years of old beliefs. But it only works if you are consistent. This is not about being perfect. It is about practicing. And with every practice, you create momentum. Momentum becomes habit. Habit becomes identity. Try to make space in your day to speak the new thought out loud, not as a task, but as a ritual. I am enough. I am worthy. I am safe to feel calm. Let those words live in your breath, in your movement, in your stillness. Write them, whisper them, return to them. And when the old voice shows up, you do not need to argue. You only need to choose again. This is integration, not controlling every emotion, but knowing how to meet it with wisdom, not chasing perfection, but returning to the truth again and again. The code is not something you unlock once and forget. It is something you live, and as you live it, your entire world begins to shift. The people you attract, the peace you feel, the opportunities that unfold, they all begin to reflect the new version of you that you've chosen to become. There comes a moment when you stop searching and start remembering. You realize that everything you've been chasing was never outside of you. The calm, the clarity, the sense of enoughness, it was always waiting within, beneath the noise, beneath the old patterns. Louise Hay often said that the power is within you, not someday. Not when you finally fix everything, but now, right here. The shift happens the moment you stop, looking for permission to feel peace and start giving yourself that peace from the inside out. You are not the fear that used to run your mind. You are not the reaction you had yesterday. You are not the old voice telling you that you are not ready, not lovable, not capable. You are the one who noticed that voice. And that means you are also the one who can change it. That is your power. That is the code. The moment you see yourself with compassion instead of judgment, the world around you begins to soften too, because life always mirrors how we treat ourselves. This journey has not been about fixing. It has been about remembering. The moment you started to look inward, you began a process of returning to who you've always been beneath the fear. A soul that wants to feel safe, a heart that wants to trust, a mind that wants to rest. The old patterns were never your fault, but choosing a new way forward is always your gift, and that gift multiplies every time you choose to live with more awareness, more gentleness, more love. There will still be moments when the old feelings return, but now you know what to do with them. You do not push them away. You do not fall into their story. You meet them with truth. You pause, you breathe, you speak to yourself with softness. That is what it means to live the code, not just to understand it, but to embody it, to practice it, to let it shape your presence, your choices, your energy. You have learned to decode your own resistance, to listen to what the discomfort is really saying, and more than anything, you have remembered that healing is not a destination. it is a relationship, one that deepens every time you choose to be on your own side. If this journey spoke to something inside you, I invite you to share what shifted for you in the comments, not because you have to, but because sometimes writing it down is the first step to anchoring it. And if this content gave you something real, feel welcome to subscribe and stay close, not for the sake of following, but to keep remembering what matters. And if you know someone who is quietly struggling, maybe this message is something they were waiting to hear too. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are remembering who you are. And that remembrance, when lived with presence and kindness, is what allows everything to fall into place.